welcome to the episode this week in lots of snow and cold and all that stuff. Today we have James Nungesser joining Jenni Gregory and I. Welcome to the show, James. I am really glad to have you on board. I'm not so aware of your work, so we're all going to learn at the same time. And you also have an interesting family history, apparently. Before we get into your interview, Jenni, thank you for standing in for Lindsey.
My pleasure.
It's great to see you. What have you been up to lately?
It's crazy. I have my fingers in a lot of pies. I do the sketch cards, which I absolutely love doing. I do comic work. I have an art show coming up in March in Windermere, Florida. It's a 2-day show. It'll be my first outside and 2-day, art show. I do comic conventions all the time. So I'm gearing up. All of my art time is geared towards that. And then my day job is I work in comics. I work at Kablam Digital Printing, where all we do is print comic books, trades, posters. So we're about to launch a whole bunch of new items, new services. So that'll be really fun. But and then I'm going to be doing your fantastic dragon sketch card series. So I am excited to get to work on that. Thank you. So yeah, that's what I do. So, and occasionally we sleep, and we have kids. Luckily, they're old enough that they can go outside, get some grass, feed, they can take care of themselves. So,
and an amazing, you also have an awesome puppy, Biko, I think he's called.
Biko, yes, our husky. He is now 7 months and 55 pounds. So, but yeah, he's awesome, and we're glad to have him as an addition to our family. I think, like with you, life's better with puppies in it. So
yes, totally agree. James, do you have any puppies to start the show with?
I do. I have a smooth collie, Bria. Yeah, she's a little over 1, so she's a spark plug.
That's awesome.
What kind of dog is she?
A smooth collie.
A smooth collie. Oh, nice. So she must be mid-size, I guess.
Yes. She's agile and athletic as all get out.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
It's funny because we talk about our dogs like with the passion and the love of our kids. It's like.
And they are. They practically are. I know mine thinks. I think she thinks she's a kid. She's like my 4-year-old, and I swear I keep calling her sister because whatever she does, the dog has to do.
Oh, that's awesome! I love it. Cool.
Well, we'll get to you, James. Puppies are awesome, but we'll get to you. You are an artist, sketch cards. How did you get into art to begin with?
Well, I mean, back from when I was a kid, I remember to entertain myself, I would go, if I went to the store, I'd buy like G.I. Joe comics, and I would come back and I would just read the comic, and I'm like, oh, I want to see if I could draw that. And it would be crude and not look anything close to what I was looking at. But over time, I just would keep at it, and it got better and got better. Then friends at school would be like, hey, could you draw that? Yeah, let me see if I can. And I would draw it, and then it just kind of took off from there. And I never stopped. I just kept drawing. And then I did a little bit of dabbled in some oil painting when I was in my teens, and kind of was okay with that, but just didn't really have a love for it. And I found myself constantly going back to sketching and drawing, and then really wanted to get into doing like comic book stuff. And so I would do my own things, and then do things for people that would ask me to draw certain things for them. I never really thought about it as being a job. And then I remember I was actually talking with Matt Bush, who's done work for Lucasfilm, and we were communicating back and forth, and then he brought up the sketch card thing, and I saw a little video he did on it, and I asked him, I said, so what's this all about? And he kind of broke it down for me really, really simple. It was like, look, it's, X amount of cards these companies send you, you got to draw fast. And I was like, you draw on that little card? And he was like, yeah. And that's when I was kind of, and I even as a kid, I always liked small. Like I always liked drawing small, and the smaller it was, the better it was. I was like, my brain started clicking. I'm like, this might be, I might find a little niche here. So I just went and I got some cardstock and I cut it to 2.5 to 3.5 scale, and I started drawing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. This is amazing. Like, and not only do I like working in this size, but it's just, to me, the concept was cool of having a collectible card that you drew. Like that was amazing to me. And I remember as a kid, as a teenager, I collected like some of the Marvel cards and some of the movie cards. So like this was something new. So then I kind of got the bug, and I kept at it. And then I got my break working for some independent publishing companies that would bring me on, and was like, oh man, I saw some of the artists that were in there. I was like, I got to step up my game a little bit. And then I found myself, the more I would do, the better I got. And I was just like, oh. And the one thing I about this community, and I say community because it actually is, most sketch card artists that I've encountered are awesome people. They're awesome human beings. They're awesome artists, and they're always willing to help a fellow artist out. Like if I can ask any one of them, like Ronnie Crowther, I reached out to him. I was like, hey, I'm confused. Like, how should I go about doing this and this? Well, you want to do X, Y, and Z. Okay. All right. I got it. Nobody was like, it's not like one of those dark secret things that everybody kept to themselves. And no, everybody was really well open to helping me out. And I did some work for R.R. Parks Cards. I'm still doing work for him. I did work for Dynamite, working on some of their titles. And it's just kind of morphed. And Gabe's Cave, hired me on to do a couple sets for them. It's taken on this life now, and it's just kind of, I find it really awesome because it's kind of like a side job for me now, but I love doing it. So I've actually turned my hobby, and I can do something that I love and kind of work at it as a job. And it makes me happy because I'm actually able to do something that I love to do, and be able to work in eyes is just, I don't think I'm ever going to stop doing sketch cards. I guess I'm kind of like addicted to it. I even think if I wasn't getting commissioned to do it, or if I wasn't working for a company, I'd be doing them for myself just because I just love them. I love being able to do them.
They're cool. You can do such a range. I love your style. You have such a really cool, gritty style, and you do such a lot of different topics. I know you're obviously a big Venom Spider-Man fan, which your stuff is really cool. Your Venom sketch cards were really awesome. And then it seems like you have a wonderful taste for horror, which I love. I love horror stuff. So what is your favorite thing to do? What do you like drawing?
Well, it's kind of funny you brought that up, because in the beginning I didn't really know. I was kind of still experimenting. So I was doing everything. I was doing Marvel stuff. I was doing DC stuff. I was doing old school 70s cartoons like Great Ape, Popeye.
Awesome.
I would have people ask me to do Hanna-Barbera stuff, and it was just like I was doing all these different things. And I'm like, okay, well, I want to do the best that I can, but I'm still trying to find my style. I'm still trying to develop what I enjoy doing and what I can create that's more me. And people started asking for Venom. I want to see Venom. I want to see Carnage. I want to see Venom. I want to see Carnage. I was like, wow, these names just keep coming. So the more I drew them, I was like, okay, well, here's another Venom. Here's another Venom. Oh, here's Carnage. Oh, here's Carnage. And then it kind of took off, and I'm like, now somebody could tell me to do it. I could probably do it. I could probably do Venom in my sleep without even like die.
He's fun to draw. There's so cool things in there.
To me, there's freedom with that particular with both of those characters, because they're free flowing. So you can bring a lot of different aspects into both of those and create something really awesome. With the whole symbiote thing, and the possibilities are endless. I had someone that was a horror fan, a classic horror fan, and they liked the movie Christine with the car, and they wanted to Venomize Christine. So I had to take the car and make the car to a symbiote, and it actually worked. And he fell absolutely in love with it, and it's unique because I don't think it's been done before. So
I don't think so either. You need to post that on your Facebook. I want to see that.
I'm gonna have to find a picture of it. It was like one of the first ones I did when I first started getting into it.
Send me an image and I'll post it in the video so people can see.
Yeah.
Okay. But it was that was kind of the turning point where I was like, horror may be a good thing, because I like creatures. I like when I was doing the working on Ultraman for RR Parks, doing a lot of the kaijus, and looking at some of Frankie Washington's amazing work. It was like that kaiju's like his thing. So I was like, well, he's got that. Let me see if I can do some really cool horror stuff. And then for one of the sets, it was horror themed. So I did a I did Freddy versus Jason, but I also did a Jason Michael Myers mashup where it was like a split screen between the two.
Oh.
It was so fun for me to do that I wasn't even really paying attention to it because I was just so fun. I was having a great time just doing it. And then I finished it and I was like, holy crap, this actually looks really good. And I had people, I was showing it to people, and people were like, there's no way you drew that. And I was like,
but I did.
I love it.
That's cool. So is it hard for you? Oh, wait, sorry.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to know, do you like drawing all the gore and horror stuff in it too, or do you leave that to the side?
It depends. It kind of depends on the mood I'm in. And a lot of it has to do, because usually I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it as a commission, or somebody has requested it. Most of the time, the gore isn't really what they want. They want more of the actual character. I can gore the character up, but I feel like a lot of the times if you do too much gore, it kind of detracts from the overall image. So I try to hold back from doing that. Now, if somebody came to me and they were like, hey, I want you to gore this up as much as possible, well, then I'm going to pull out all stops. Like I think one of the cards I did to simulate blood to make it kind of a 3D, I used, and hopefully she won't see this, my wife's nail polish. I used a toothpick and I kind of did drizzles of this red nail polish.
Oh, so that's awesome.
It pumped up a little bit, so it had that 3D look. And then, of course, the whole splatter. But again, even that was kind of, I did it sparingly because I felt like if I did too much, it would just overall detract from the actual image that I had drawn. But yes, as far as the gore goes, upon request. But for the most part, I try to keep it, PG-13ish. But
see, I love horror. I love gore. I don't know if you guys did the Psycho Ape ones. Did you do that one, Ingrid?
Yes, I did.
That was like I think it was a trauma film, but it was like so much blood and bananas, and that was that was a fun one to do. So yeah,
you can't go wrong with bananas blood.
It was crazy. It's a funny. I think it's on. I don't know if it's free still, but I think it was on YouTube, or you can find it like on Amazon to DVD cheap. But yeah, that's one of the fun things about doing sketch cards is you're doing so many different things. You might be drawing Ultraman one time, you might be drawing cats one time, or dragons, and you never know what you're going to do. Because when I do comics, it's like, you have sequential storytelling that you tell. But with these sketch cards, it's anything. And I love it. I live for that. It's pretty.
That's cool. Like I got brought on to do an independent for another independent company. It was a dinosaur series, and
yes, I did that series. I did that one.
The Rusty Zink.
Rusty. Okay, yeah, I did that one. Yeah,
it was a different one.
And I sat down to do the first card, and I went, "Oh God, how am I going to do this?" Because I had to switch my brain a little bit because I had just come off of something completely different. So I sat there. I was like, "Okay, all right, you can do this," and I did it. And I'm like, "Oh, this is awesome. I love this." Actually, it's like creatures, and okay, I got this. Yeah. And then the more I did it, and the more I did, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm pretty good at this." So that now I've kind of taken on, like, I'm getting more requests for the horror and the creatures, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm like, it's like a drug. I'm kind of addicted to it. So it's
One
going
of
to
the
be
favorite things for me to do was the creatures from Star Wars. I just love painting all those creatures. It's just amazing.
Oh, wow.
So that is something I gotta say I kind of miss, but well, you know what you're gonna do. But then you've got all these amazing movies out there that are like Labyrinth and what is it, Dark Crystal? I've done a whole bunch of cards.
Yeah, the Muppet stuff.
The Muppet stuff.
The Jim Henson.
Yeah.
Huge Muppet fan here. I love it. I'm just totally. That's the one place I can actually nerd out. You guys with Pikachu or I don't know what, that's great, but just give me a Muppet and I'm happy.
That's so fun. I got to do a convention with Guy Gilchrist, who does a lot of the Muppet comics, and his stuff is just crazy awesome. He's so sweet. But yeah,
wow,
he's
amazing.
Really cool, and he's super sweet. And then another one of my friends, Kenny Durkin, who does a lot of work with the Jim Henson stuff. Yeah, they're like so into Muppets. I think it's a cool thing and nostalgic, and yeah,
Nostalgic, and they should bring them back, but the actual hand puppets is just something you can't recreate. I mean, yeah, it's cool and digital and all that, but there's something about the hand puppets that are just.
It is. It's magic. I think how they were able to do that, how they were able to construct them. And, you know, as a kid, when I would watch those things, it's like you lose yourself in there because you really think that, oh, they're talking to me. And, you know, you didn't have that human aspect. There was something that was, I don't know, I guess deeper when you had the Muppets. I think they're pretty awesome. I think they influenced everyone.
So, James, besides nail polish, what are your favorite tools?
Yeah.
Everything. I've used coffee. I use everything, every type of medium I could possibly think of. Primarily for sketch cards, I'll do the standard rough sketch, pencil, do my inks, and then usually Copics, and then I'll layer colored pencil. I'm a big fan
That's great.
So I like to use the ink tints, and just the look. I try to get rich color saturation, so however I'm able to obtain that. Sometimes for backgrounds, depending on what it is, I may use some watercolor, but for the most part, most cards that I do are done in pencil, inks, and Copic and colored pencil.
Have you ever met a cardstock that you can't work with?
I'm sorry?
Have you ever met a cardstock that you can't work on?
Actually, I have a set that I just received from another independent publisher, and it's not good at all. And there's actually a thread on it where other artists that are like they're having a hard time working with it. So I have yet to begin on that. So I'm going to try to brainstorm and figure it out. I got some ideas of things I can do to try to get around it, but for the most part, I'm going to have to take that first card, and I think going to play with it a little bit and see what my limits are to use.
Something I found is if you either use gesso, a little bit of gesso, or if you put some white paint on there, it takes more time because you got to wait for them to dry, but it kind of gives you a little bit of a separation, so it doesn't seep into the card as much. But yeah, cardstock, that'll if you don't have good cardstock, it's just like.
Now reminds me, you were talking, Jenni, about the what is it, gesso, I guess, that you use for watercolor that you put on a couple of things. That would actually work for if you do watercolor, James, and stuff like that. I just can't remember the name of the.
I don't either, and I've got it in the other room.
Yeah, I've got it. I've got mine. I have one. I've got a pot of that stuff too, and it's in my studio, which is not here in this room. But yeah, there is something you can use.
But we'll put that in there and have that a link to that. But yeah. That'll.
Yeah, add a link to that because it helps, at least for watercolor. I don't know how it would work for markers, but I would imagine if it's like, I don't know what the cardstock is, but if it's the shiny stuff,
Yeah, it's
will not go on that. It just rubs right off. Forget about it.
To me, the card kind of looks like they printed the print side on the wrong side. That's what it appears.
So it's kind of shiny.
On it. They put a gloss on
a little bit of sheer to it, but it's not completely shiny like gloss. But you can tell it's almost, when I felt the card, it feels like they printed the image on the wrong side.
Okay,
that's
Good luck
the way
with that.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
I remember back before I started working with who I mostly work with now, a couple times I'd ask them, how's the paper that we're going to be drawing?
What type of cardstock are we talking about here?
That's it, exactly. You got to be prepared, because sometimes it almost takes more time to fight the stupid cardstock than what you're going to get paid. But
absolutely.
It's one of those things to yay or nay the set. If you know it's going to be like plastic or something and you can't work on it, well then, what are you going to do? If it takes you too long to do it, it's not worth it. Unless it's like something you're passionate about.
Yeah.
So what are you working on now, James? May we ask?
I'm still currently in the works with Ultraman Season 2 with RR Parks cards. I'm doing an international set for Fawn Sat for Studio Thwip. Doing the current set for him. I have 2 other projects that I can't really talk about right now due to disclosure agreements. Still trying to get caught up on some commissions. I'm kind of behind on that. And I recently just got brought on for a huge project, doing something that I'm retired military myself. Did 20 years in the U.S. Marine Corps, and I had a company reach out to me about doing designing custom targetry for them to shoot at. They wanted certain images, and they're going to be themed. And it was kind of crazy because they just saw my Facebook page and they were like, "Hey, we saw you're a veteran. We saw you do this. Hey, would you be interested?" And I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I did some examples and they're like, "Good, you're done. That's what we're looking for." So I was like, okay, well, this takes it in a whole new direction now.
Yeah.
So I might have to cut back on the sketch cards for a little bit, but it's not going to go away. Like, I'm still going to do my commissions, and they'll be like, I'm probably going to do maybe a set or 2 for the year, and that'll be it. I'm not going to. This past year got kind of crazy where I learned real quick not to take on too much, because it will bog you down, and those cards start adding up, and it's like it just consumes you. So I was like, all right, that's how my commissions kind of got backed up a little bit, was because of the sets. I was like, I got to meet these timelines. So I was like, I'm not doing.
That brings up a really good point. How many years have you been actually doing sets for companies? Are you relatively new to this?
3 years now. 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, you're a newbie. Sorry.
No. Oh yeah, no, I am. There's no shame in that. The way I look at it is everybody's going to start somewhere.
Yeah. For real. Well, what set that you've done are you most proud of? What was the funnest thing?
The funnest ones. There's kind of a equal baseline, I guess you could say. The Rusty Zinc Dino set was pretty awesome. I actually enjoyed doing that one, and that set I did I was proud of that set. That set came out really good, and it was really fun to do. The first Studio Thwip set that I did, I was very proud of every single one of those cards. The cards I did for Gabe's Cave, I think those were good as well. Those kind of fall along the same baselines, as far as enjoying the content. And I was pleased. Like, I could 100% slap the table and be like, I love every single one of those cards. I did the best I could. And I think that they look good. There's been a few others where I was kind of like, there may be 1 or 2 in there that I feel like I rushed a little bit too much on, and they're not. I don't think they're up to where they should be, but due to time restraints, and it was just like, I got to get it out there. It was still good. Like, I'm not going to put a product out there that's just that's going to make them look bad, or that somebody would go, "What is this?" But it's not up to my standard, and I'll sit there and rework a card until the next day until I think it's right. I think it looks good.
Or sometimes you come back the next day and you're like, it looks better than I thought, or better than I remembered. So I didn't screw it up as bad as I thought. That's awesome.
You're 100% correct. I had to happen a couple times.
So yeah. I know a lot of times when I can't save a card, I'll just use it for an AP and I'll gesso over it later and restart. I mean, it's gonna happen. You're gonna screw up. So, yeah. But it's fun. Sometimes you can dig yourself out, and sometimes you just gotta set it.
Yes. I'd worry about that later.
Exactly that. So is it hard for you to give up your cards? Like, when you send them back, or are you like,
In the beginning, yeah, especially some of the ones that I knew I spent time on, because now I can push a card out relatively quick. In the beginning, I put all that time and effort into that one card, and I learned over time that no, you can, once you start getting it down, it goes faster. And you start learning a little bit more tricks of the trade, I guess you could say. And, some of my fellow artists have helped me out. Hey, why don't you try this? Did you ever think about doing that? Absolutely. Give it a shot. Oh, crap. Yeah, that makes my life a whole lot easier.
Yeah, it does.
So spending all that time focusing on that one card in the beginning, it was hard to be like, oh, that looks awesome. And then I got to give it away. And it's like,
I know.
Oh, man. Okay. All right. Well, I mean,
it's like, okay, but I guess I'll take your money. Here's your card. That takes a little bit of the
help ease the pain a little bit.
I know. If I have to go buy some video games or art supplies, okay. But
the ones I really, and it's funny because the ones I most have a hard time letting go of are some of the commissioned ones, because matter of fact, a lot of the individuals who have commissioned me to do multiple cards for them have been on this podcast already.
Oh, wow, cool.
And some of the work that I've done for them, it was hard for me to let it go because I was like, I know. Really like it.
I mean, you always put your best into your sketch cards that you're doing, but then I think when you're doing a commission, you're getting paid more, so you put more extra into it, and you're like, oh, I really like where this is going. But yeah, it is. Sometimes it's hard to give up on those.
Yeah.
Is there a theme that you haven't done yet that you'd like to explore? Like, for instance, doing a set about your family history, just putting it out there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think we may be onto something.
Yeah. Would you like to elaborate on that?
I mean, we were talking earlier before we started here about I have a relative, an ancestor, Charles Nungesser, who was a World War I French fighter ace pilot. And has an extensive, I don't want to say crazy, but we can say that crazy backstory, I guess.
It's pretty exotic. It's awesome. Yeah.
Pretty out there. And then he disappeared. Did try to do the first transatlantic flight, and plane disappeared. Nobody ever found him again. Didn't find the plane or him. So it would be, that would be actually pretty interesting to do just a series based on those aircraft or those pilots from that era.
I was gonna say, I've done a couple of cards like that years ago, but on some of the World War aircraft and things like that. So many different airplanes, and there are people who are really interested in the different aircraft of the time.
Oh, yeah.
So
I met a couple that were obsessed, like to the point where rooms are dedicated to. Now, don't get me wrong, like I'm a fan of sci-fi and Star Wars, and I have my collectibles and things like that. But I mean, these people have a room that looks like a museum that can tell you the nomenclature of every aircraft, and it's just it's mind-boggling because you're just like, oh my gosh, these people seem like they're historians, but they're not. They're just
it's something they're fascinated and glom onto. Yeah.
And it's funny because I don't see a lot of history sketch card sets out there. That would be a different.
There were There were a few some years ago. There was one that I actually worked on. I think it was a Viceroy company who put out a space set. Do you remember that, Jenny?
I did that. Yeah, that was cool.
That was really fun, and where we were allowed to do the different the first spaceships, if you like, the shuttles and all that cool stuff. That was a ton of fun. I had
Soyuz, yeah. I remember someone did the portrait of the Luca, the first dog that went into space.
Oh,
that was cool.
And there was a previous publisher who did a dinosaur set. I think it was Monster Wax who did that set. I'm not sure. I think it was.
Richard did the Roman one.
Yes, the Roman Emperor's set.
I think I remember hearing about that one.
Yeah, it was cool stuff.
I saw some cards from that. That was a really awesome set.
Yeah, I got to work on that set. That was really cool. And there'll be another set coming up later this year that I won't talk about, but there'll be another historical set coming out later this year. So yeah, there are some. It's but there's room for more.
Yep, absolutely. James, room for more. So you could even tell the story in cards, like sequential cards, or do a comic on your ancestor. That'd be pretty cool too.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm gonna take some notes here.
I know. This is like a therapy session. We'll work out everything for you. So
we now turned it into a conference call.
I know, really. Now we need this done by, and that'd be cool.
Do you work in sequentials at all, or are you really focused on sketch cards?
Right now, it's kind of it's between the sketch cards and commissions. That's where my focus is, trying to knock all this out right now. What I have coming up, that project I was talking about earlier, that's in a process as well, but there's deadlines for that. So I have to, I'm trying to bounce that in between doing the card sets and then trying to work commissions and then do my regular job at the same time. So it's, I got to kind of base everything around, and it's just, I'm sure everybody knows it gets, you almost have to calendar in.
That brings up an interesting point, because I'm always interested in how do you function? How do you typically get through your day? How do you balance work? How do you balance family? How do you balance your sketch things? Do you do you set a certain time amount every evening? Do you work mostly on the weekends? What is your secret?
It's not a secret. It's just I run on caffeine and stress 90% of the time.
Paisano, I understand.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, maybe a drink in the evening, But for the most part, it's right now I'm kind of in between a couple things, so the schedule's a little bit different. But for the most part, it's work and kids during the day, and then in the evening times, if I'll squeeze it in when I can squeeze it in. Weekends, I may be able to free up time during the day to break away and work. But there's never a set time to where it's like, okay, at this time I'm going to sit down, I'm going to do X amount of cards, I'm going to work. It has not worked out like that since. It's just been like, I have a pretty large family, so it's like, kids come in and out, wee hours. I need this, I need that. Oh, hey, mom's doing that. Can you help me do it? Sure, let me stop what I'm doing and come help you. And
I have to change your diaper. Come on.
Well, thank God we're past that, but still.
There you go. Cool.
It morphs into something else. So
I don't know how old your kids are, but I was going to say they make great backgrounders. So if you've got a big fill area, give them the marker and here, do that.
Here, fill this in.
Exactly. So, but I'm just saying.
I did not think of that. Good one.
See, mine would do something to spite me. So they would just grab like a color other than what I told them to, and then just.
I know.
What you said to put in.
I know. When I did background inking on comics, I would always sneak my initials in some place or my name, because a lot of times when you're doing background stuff, you don't get credit in the credit stuff. So like in a keyboard, I'd work like my initials, or I'd put my name on a poster. So you can get your revenge in, and you can sneak your name in.
Oh, that's cool.
Still slide it in there.
This is our like dirty secrets episode, I guess.
We're just airing it out now. It's okay.
I know.
I have
So
done that actually, snuck my initials in a few cards in the really, really early sets I did. Wasn't supposed to.
absolutely.
Do you
Yeah,
have any
that's
problems? I'm
actually
sorry.
a pretty good question too, because I've seen both. I've seen artists that like to put their names and they like to put their initials on the front of the card, on the piece itself. I have
Yeah.
some that don't, that just want to sign the back and they don't want anything on the front. I've
We're
seen some that
not, we're
just put.
usually not allowed to sign the front most of the
See,
time.
that's what my understanding was. So I don't. Is there like an unwritten rule
I
for
didn't
that?
know
Or?
that because I signed both. Yikes.
Well, for more, well, I don't, I like, for instance, for some of the smaller publishers, that I honestly don't know. You'd have to ask them. They're all different. But for the bigger companies, all the ones that I've worked for, like, well, especially Tops, but I think Rittenhouse too, Upper Deck, you're not supposed to sign the front, you sign the back.
Huh. I didn't
I
know that.
don't actually
Wow.
know why. I think there was a reason, and I just don't remember what it is. But you're not really supposed to sign the front of the card. But again, for the smaller sets, I don't know. I'm just so in the habit now of only signing the back. I don't even think about it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah, I'm trying
So
to say,
I'm sorry. I wanted to ask. It's a little bit off topic, perhaps, but do you have any other hobbies besides art and sketch cards? Because very often hobbies will make their way back into what it is you do.
um, I practice martial arts and I'm heavily into weapons. So I,
oh,
uh,
that's cool.
I teach shooting. I teach edged weapons, but most of the time it's art, and because art kind of is, for me anyways, it's a way to de-stress and to keep the mind uncluttered. So it's a very good therapeutic exercise, I find as well. Not to mention it's fun for me. It's something that I really enjoy. But yeah, uh, those were go-to hobbies outside of art. Now things are a little bit different. One, because I'm older. The body does not work the way it's supposed to anymore. So we go back to art.
There you go.
But yeah, no. For the most part now, my extra hobbies are, I love to spend time with my family, with my kids, and the sketch cards. Like that's kind of what consumes me now. Is if I'm not working on projects for this, I'm spending time with them. And a lot of that's due to the 20 years that I was on active duty and being deployed. I missed a lot of things. I missed a lot of watching my kids grow up. I wasn't here. I missed births. I remember being on a sat phone in the Middle East and hearing my middle child being born over the phone, and it was, so now I feel like I got to play catch up. Even though we're a little bit later in the game, but the game's still going on, so it's time for Dad to try to play catch up a little bit. So my primary focus is that, and then this is what I do to as like I said, I wanted to. It was always a hobby, and it still is a hobby to me. Even if I'm making money at it, it's still a hobby. But it's something that I enjoy. So it's to be able to have the opportunity to do this and to get paid for it is even amazing, because it's something I really enjoy to do. So, especially I'm hoping that more horror type stuff comes my way. Because that there's a lot of freedom, I think, that comes with that as well. And you can put a lot of emotion into a lot of those sets as well. But I'm excited to see.
Cards. You could do your own horror cards.
Yeah.
I've seen people do their own sets. I just have to maybe I'll talk to you guys about it and get some insight on. Let's just turn it back into another conference call. So
I know. So what is your advice? So, well, let me ask you, what advice would you give to someone who is starting out in comics? You've been in sketch cards, because you've been doing it for a couple of years now. So what advice do you wish you had known then that you know now that you'd pass on?
Big things are, don't be scared to ask questions. Reach out and ask. Even if people don't give you the answer that you're expecting, take it and learn from it. Experiment with as much different type of media as you possibly can. Don't get set in just one particular thing. Try to branch out, learn from other artists as well, because that way you'll grow. You should never stop growing. Also, have thick skin. Be able to realize that you're gonna not everybody's gonna love your work. There's gonna be people out there, you're just not gonna like your stuff, and that's okay. That's perfectly okay, because everybody has different tastes. That's what makes us human.
Well, those people suck, but yeah.
Exactly.
No.
But
Sure.
For every what I have now seen is that for every person that's kind of like whatever, there's 3 or 4 that are like, that's awesome. So that makes up for it. And at the end of the day, those are the people that matter. So that's what we try to focus on. But you have to keep pushing and keep pushing and keep putting it out there, putting it out there. I didn't really have a portfolio when I started. So it was kind of just, a lot of these companies, they want scans, they want to see your work. And I didn't even know the first step in how to do that. So I had to reach out and ask. And I'm like, hey, well, how do you go about doing this? Because this is something that I would like to do. And the community, like I said before, was more than willing to be like, look, hey, this is how this goes. Hey, be careful. Watch out for this. And the more I kind of got into it, the more people started, I don't want to say protecting me, but kind of looking out for me. Like, hey, look, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. Hey man, I like your stuff. Maybe you should try going this direction. And just kind of help steer me the right way. Because if you come in blind and you just try to throw your work out there, it's not going to work. I had to create like
social medias.
I'm sorry, man.
Are you on different social medias?
Facebook and Instagram. I don't do the Twitter thing. It gets kind of crazy, so I stay off of it. But pretty much Facebook and Instagram are my 2 main socials. I use those platforms. That was the Instagram was a big one. I didn't have an Instagram before all this started taking off, and then another fellow sketch card artist was like, "Hey man, create an Instagram," and I was like,
"Yep,
okay, how do I do that? Like, what should I do?" And they're like, "Well, put some of your work on there and this and that." You can, and they kind of walked me through it. So I set it up, and now that took off as well. And people got on there and were like, "Oh, hey, I saw your stuff on Instagram." I'm like, "Oh, okay, so I guess that is a good thing." Okay,
yeah, great.
Then I realized the more platforms you were on, the more visibility you got, and I was like, "Oh, okay, so now this is how this works." Okay, I think I got it.
That's cool. Now, I noticed your banner behind you. Do you also do conventions? Do you?
Yep. Actually, I did the set for Gabe's Cave. They created that for me, and it just showed up in the mail, and I was like, "What is this?" And I opened it, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is awesome." Now I have gone through the process. I'm going to do my first con in April. I believe it's the 1st, April 1st. It's going to be in Wilmington, and that will be my first show, my first.
Good on you! Congratulations!
Awesome, yeah, congrats.
I went through the whole process, the application, applying, and then a couple of weeks later, got a response back saying, "Yeah, hey, you're good to go. We'd love to have you." So Gabe's Cave reached out and said, "Hey, you're going to be doing your first con. We want to help." So they're going to be helping me out a little bit as well. So it's been a crazy year this past year, because things took off in ways that I never thought that they would take off. And I'm just happy. I'm happy and giddy, and I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep pushing. And someday, hopefully, I'll be able to hang in there with you guys and be able to bump shoulders with the big dogs.
You're
so
so enthusiastic and positive, and it's really nice that there's still people out there who are so enthusiastic and friendly.
Well, I'm never going to stop that. That's just my personality, and I try to, especially like when I see my kids, it's like that's my future. It's not about me, it's about them. So I want to teach them that don't let anything stop you. Don't let anything hold you back. I don't care what the rest of the world is doing at that particular time. You can make a difference, and you can make a difference in what you're currently doing. And that's what you need to focus on. And that's like, for me, like, I'm never going to stop growing. I was working on some projects this morning, and I'm just like, figured out a couple of new things that I threw out there to try, and it made it look even better. And I'm like, I'm just growing. I'm constantly trying to hone my craft and get better and better. And I will work alongside anybody. I will ask anybody questions, and it's not that if somebody asks me, I'm going to tell them. I'm not going to hold any secrets, because I want to see them get better. Because as they get better, they may turn around and be like, hey, I learned that from so and so. So everybody has to learn from somebody, and we all help each other to grow collectively. So
yeah, I agree.
I mean, that's kind of how the world's supposed to work, I thought. But yeah, I know things are different now. But that doesn't mean we have to change. So we can continue to do the right thing and help each other grow and support each other. And this Gabe's Cave, these guys are phenomenal. Marty and them are just it's based on an amazing concept of how they came up with it. And I'll always support them. They've always supported me. They're continuing to support me. RR Parks cards, Dynamite, some of the other ones I can't talk about right now, have been really, really awesome. I haven't had any of the bad stuff that I hear on there. And I think the huge thing is communication. I reach out to them. I have a question I'm going to ask. Richard, I beat him up with questions constantly. I'm like, hey, what's up? What do you want me to do with it? Oh, no, you're good. Don't worry about it. Well, okay, I got it. Just want to make sure I'm good. I know I'm going to bug you, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. But how am I going to know if I don't ask, or if I just kind of let it ride? I'm not going to do that, because I want to make sure I get it right. I want to make sure I do it the right way.
Let's follow that. Let's follow that thought. Where do you see yourself in, say, 2 years with your art?
2 years?
Uh-huh.
I want to have a bigger social media presence as far as my art goes, as well as I would like to have my work more out there. I've done some commissions internationally. I've done some sets internationally. I've done some sets here. I would like to eventually work for one of the bigger companies like Tops or Upper Deck, just to get that notch, that check
cred, yeah.
Well, I look at it almost as like a rite of passage. So it's not so much the money. It's not so much the street cred. It's more of having that check in the box for myself to say, okay, I've done it. I've done it. Because when you're in a room and you're the only person that hasn't, I'm not going to say you get looked at funny, but it's like you feel out of place because you don't have that check mark. So that's one of my niches, is to try to get that squared away so I can get that. I know I will. It's just a matter of time. Because I'm not going to quit. I'm going to bug them until it happens.
There you go. Sometimes it's just, that's what it is. It's determination, and okay, fine. If this will get you off my back, fine. So,
right. I figured if you bother them enough, eventually they're going to know your name. So it's just like,
I agree. Yeah, there you go.
For bugging the crap out of them.
Sometimes it's just a matter of timing too, that they don't need somebody at that time, but 2 weeks later, all of a sudden they have a need for somebody, and they'll it can be timing too. You never know.
But I've gotten the thumbs up, and that we're going to put you on the list, and just waiting to hear back. So I haven't got that yet. So that's what I'm waiting on. But to get the thumbs up and to say, you've been put on the list, I think is good.
Yeah, but I know it's progress. It's progress.
But still, it's like you're in the minors and you're getting ready to get called up to the majors, and you're just waiting for that phone call.
For sure. Crazy.
Well, we're going to sort of head on out the cave here. Where can, as we were talking about your socials and stuff, where exactly can people find you or contact you?
The best thing is probably through Facebook Messenger. You send me a PM on there I have my main page, which is James Nungesser. I have James Nungesser sketch cards. That's also my Facebook art page. So it's probably best to route it through there, because I get a lot of other messages through my main page. It'll take me a while. Also on Instagram at James Nungesser Art, and those are the two platforms that I primarily use.
Okay. Do you have a website?
Not yet. It's coming though. I got got that in the works as we speak. I'm just waiting for some final confirmation on a couple of things, but I'm looking to have that live and up and running probably in the next month or so.
Okay, awesome. This has been fascinating. And I can't wait to see how you take your family history and turn it into something.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, that's getting put on the board as soon as I go in there.
Well, that's something that's unique to you, and you could have a lot of fun with that.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you again, James. This has been great. I can't wait. I hope perhaps maybe later this year, near the end of the year, you might want to come back on and let us know.
Absolutely.
Ticked any of those boxes off, or
we will. We're gonna get lots of check marks this year.
Great.
Cool. All right. Okay. Well, thank you again, and thank you, Jenni, for having stepped in.
My pleasure. Anytime.
Thank you, Jenni. It's been a pleasure.
It was good to meet you, James. Thank you. So absolutely. I just followed you on Facebook, so I look forward to seeing more of your art. So
yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you so much again. See you next time. Bye-bye.